Okay, now I'm recording. So let me just dump in another pin here. So there we've got our 3-point light. And you can kind of see how we're moving it around. Oh, never mind, I didn't need that. I just had it turned off. So you can see that we've named them so that we can view them in space and we know exactly what ones are what. We've got our free camera, which, let me do that. Let's do that. Now, one of the things that I did not point out is that if I come in and I select the key light, and let's say I want to place a specific highlight, I can take this light that's selected, I can select the little crosshairs, and I can say I want a highlight to be right there. It will then move that camera specifically to that point that you clicked on. Now, while I'm doing it, I can take my left mouse button and I can drag it around on the model and it will keep moving it. Now, it's a little bit better when you've got a complex model, but it'll keep moving it around. So that's one thing. The next is, so let me come in here. We're going to go camera. And let's say this is our view, okay? And we now want to do a view. Oops, done. We now want to do a view from the back, let's say. But it's not necessarily lit up the way that we want it. So let's create a new camera. We'll save that. Now, we don't need to go in and start moving all these lights around, because here's our environment. Well, if I start adjusting this to get the lighting that I want here, you know, let's say that's what we want. When I go back to my key light camera, well, I'm not going to have the same lighting. And you don't necessarily want to just rotate your model, because it's still not going to give you the same highlights that you want. So what you can do is you've got environment, and let's just call this front. Okay. What we can now do is we can come in. What's that one do? We can duplicate it. We're going to call this rear. And the reason we want to duplicate it is it gives us a good start point. So now let's come back to our camera. We'll go to the back view. Oh, and we're going to use this to edit it. So now I'm going to take my key light. I'm going to move it over here to get that look. I'll take my fill light and move it over to there. I'm going to take my rim light. I'll move it. Let's say I want it in there. And then what I can do is I can lock them, because you always want to be careful that you don't move it around. Now I can have it associated. So we're going to go key light. Let's go to our environment. Oh, sorry, camera, back. Let's go with environment, and we go to rear, or we go camera, key light, environment, front. And there, you're keeping everything in the same scene. It's the equivalent of having 2 studio lights set up in different parts of a room, and then you're just picking up your model and going over there. So that's one of those things that is a big advantage, because like setting up the cameras, if someone comes in and says, well, you know, oh, hey, I like that camera shot. You did the rendering. I like that camera shot. You know, let's do that, but let's change this material color. If you don't have that camera saved, then you've got to try to figure it out or match it as best as you can versus creating that camera, locking it into place. I've had renderings that have had multiple cameras, you know, some cameras for animation. I'll have sometimes 3 cameras set up for an animation, and throughout that animation, it switches from camera to camera so that I can splice it with different views. Does that make sense? Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to have my environment here, and what I can do, let's say you build a stage or you build a light setup that you love. Hey, I want to use this as my default. Anytime I have a model, I'm going to drag and drop it, and I'm going to use this. Instead of going back and grabbing one of the defaults and trying to get it to where you were, I'm just going to come in. I'm going to go save to library. I'm going to go wherever I want. Now I could create my own new folder and call it, I can create my own folder. You know, and save it under there. And we've got that called front. If I didn't want that to be called front, I can change the name. Or I could have changed the name. And then save that to the exact same area. You can see, or I could save it since it's a 3-point light setup. I can just save it into Studio 3-point lights so that when I open it up next, I can do whatever I want. You can see here I did that with the last class. So I could come in and drag that one in. Huh, I don't know where they went, but whatever. Those were the key things that I did not show you that I showed the other class in regards to editing the HDIR image. Questions about that? No? Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how to set up different, I want to show you how not to use HDRI lighting, but instead utilize real lights or physical lights within Keyshot. So let me do one thing here because I need a model. Bear with me because I was going to use just the cube again with radiuses, but it didn't really demonstrate things very nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Haley's lovely controller once it opens. What's that?
I said woot for my words, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's just... let me just close down Keyshot. I don't know why I've got 2 open. Okay. So, damn, I made you a big part line, didn't I? Oh, no. Oh, Oh, whatever. I'm not going to mess with it. Okay, so let us just quickly dump some materials on here. I'm going to be really simple. Scene, model sets, SNE controller. So I'm going to grab this one and this one. We're just going to do pretty much all plastic for now. So you can see also, even though I have these selected in here, if I drag and drop it, it still wants to do the whole thing. So I just have to go back into the controller window. Let's go with a textured for the body. Ah, I did that wrong. There we go. And you can see that if I didn't have multiple bodies, then we would not be able to do this. It would just go as one giant object. Okay. So here we go. So like I showed last time, and you want to have a plan of attack. You know, sometimes I might start off with, especially if I'm giving art direction, you know, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm not a big fan of doing uber sketches if I don't need to. So I'll just doodle some things out. So you can kind of see that sketch. And what I'm going to do is, you know, I'm going to add to that, and I'm going to say, you know, light sources from there. You know, I want a highlight reflection along there. I want this to be a nice soft edge. And then I want some call outs in this area and spotlights there. So again, it just gives me some initial thoughts. Or I might go and do, you know, find something similar that I think is going to be attractive, such as, you know, because again, we don't have to invent the wheel every single time. Let's go with drum. Now, I wouldn't necessarily select a game controller. I'd probably find something else. But, okay, even from a standpoint of, you know, oh, here's something dramatic. You know, it's a black background. We've got the rim lighting there. We've got some, that looks nice. You know, something like that. Oh, buttons are glossy. You may even say, oh, hey, let me do something like this. You know, so some kind of reference material. You know, even dramatic 3D rendering of something like that. No, this is something I can share. You should all start building a list or building a folder. Let me see if I can find this here quickly. I'm just doing it off screen so you can't see other documents that you probably shouldn't see. Bear with me here while I look for it. There we go. No, that's not going where I want it to go. Okay, bear with me here. It's what happens when you come up with a thought mid-sentence and you're not prepared for it. So we're going to go here. I'm going to scroll down through here. And go in here. And then we're going to scroll down here, A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I. Okay, I can't find it. I'll find it later, but basically I have a massive database of inspiration imaging, whether it be sketching styles, whether it be renderings, whether it be market renderings. You know, start collecting those things. As you see something, you know, because then you can kind of sit through there and go, oh, I would love to do this. You know, hey. Okay, so these are all actual Illustrator renderings, but, you know, so that you've got some reference material. Okay, so let's dive in with creating physical lighting. So we're going to actually, we'll dump in a flat background. So we're going to come back in. If you recall, we can do environments, we could do lighting environment, we can do a color, and we can do a backplate image. Backplate images are, here, let's do this. Backplate images are things that are automatically set there, and you can move your object into there. Really simple. I have no control over the backplate image. Or you can come in and set it in the coffee maker. Now obviously you can move it so it looks weird. So we're not going to do backplate images. We are going to just simply go with a model. Oops. We're going to leave the overall object white. We're just going to dump in a plane. We'll scale that way up. We're then going to go in and say, okay, we want it to look like this. I want to have, you know, this part be the brighter. I want this back part to kind of be filled in, and then I want to get a rim light off of this back edge. So right off the bat, I know how I'm going to set up my key lights. If I go to, let me just get off of that. I'm going to set up my camera here, and we're just going to go front 3/4. I'm also just going to quickly set up a top view so that I can show you that constantly. So if this is our camera, and if you recall, when we start a 3-point light off, we want to go 45 degrees of the product. So that's our product setup. So I'm going to start with my fill light, or my key light here. I'm going to start with my fill light here, and then I'm going to start with my backlight here, so that I know where I want it to go and be. Does everybody remember that? Or would you like me to pull back up that image of Keyshot or of a 3-point light setup?
I think we're good.
Okay. So we'll lock that. We've saved it. We'll lock that. We'll save it. And then we've got our free camera to move around in. So where I'm going to go is I'm going to come up here and I am going to go... Hold on one second. Where is it? Because it's a dumb place. Because you would think it would be under lighting, but it's not. That's my cameras. Standard views, panoramic, above, VR, adaptive performance. Shoot, where is... Okay, so we're going to do this way. Nope. Shoot. Where'd they put it? There we go. So under Edit, we'll go Add Light. And again, we're going to start with spotlights. We're not going to worry about area lights, IES lights, or point lights. We'll talk about those at another time. So we're going to add a spotlight. And let's go to our top view. Oh, sounds like the dog just stole food. Yep, dog just stole food. Oh, dog stole the vegetable soup. Oh, dog stole the homemade vegetable soup. Okay, let's get this out here. There. So we're going to move this into a position, and it's just like anything else. You can move them around, and we're going to say there's our first 45. And I like to go with a top view because it helps me to understand, you know, clearly where I'm moving it, versus if I'm trying to do a view like this, it's hard for me to see what's going on. So then what we can do, kind of move it around here. We'll hit OK. Come on, hide that off. Let's go to a right side view. So now I can raise it up. And you can see where it's pointing already. And you can also see, so we talked about how light will bounce off of things. So you can already see that this material is automatically getting the reflection off of this area. So again, if I come into my lights, or sorry, scene, and I turn that off, it goes away. So you always want to pay attention to that. Now, Keyshot has, it used to be very difficult to manage a lot of the things within Keyshot. They've tried to make it better, but it's still not the easiest, because I'm supposed to just be able to click on there and get it, but it's not doing that. So let's Sometimes what I have to do is make it so that I can grab the thing. So here we're basically what is the radius of that highlight, or sorry, that spotlight. So we're going to control that. Let's get it a little bit smaller, just so I can show you the tools. Then we're going to control fall off. And what that, come on. What that means is in this area here, how does it fade off? So if I go to 0, it shortens that up. If I go to, oh, I guess I can only go to 1. So you can kind of see the transition of how it goes on and off. So that's kind of how does the light fall off of things. We can control the beam angle. We control the power. Now you can either do watts. And this is where it helps if you really know photography, you know, what is the wattage that you're using? Or if you're looking at a book and it's making suggestions, you can do different things. You can also do lumen, which is a completely different set of numbers. And you can see where 2000 lumen is considerably lighter than 5 watts of light. Either or, doesn't matter to me what you use, or, you know, sometimes when I use lumen, it's because it helps me if I'm duplicating a studio setup. Let me just see here if this does a better job of demonstrating it. So if you watch the fall off in here, and you see this area, if I increase that, you get a little bit less intensity. And you can kind of see, here are the various things that we're adjusting. So the radius does pretty much everything, and the fall off does the inner ring. Okay. Why is it not bringing up? I think they call it a gimbal or something. There it goes. I don't know why that happened. Okay, so now I control things by dragging it on the screen versus doing the dialing. But it's still not giving me my ability to rotate. So we're just going to come in and we're going to adjust it ourselves. See, this is kind of why I don't necessarily like doing it in 3D space. It helps if I go to the different camera views. So let's go to top. I thought I had changed that. Okay, so we're going to say that's good, but as you, it's not necessarily hitting the spot that I want. So we'll just kind of get a little bit better there. We'll come back to our scene. Oh, is it going to give it to me now? No. Okay. We'll create another spotlight. And this one, again, just like we did before, set it up as a key. Now you can see that this is considerably longer than just dragging and dropping a HDRI image in. This is kind of why HDRI imagery was created, for doing these scenes. But it still gives you some opportunity. So what I did there is I just went in and cut and paste. So I can cut and paste and then use it to move it around. Or I could have gone in and created a new one. That's not what I wanted to do. And you can see where this light is falling down here. I want to adjust it a little bit to get it closer over there. I'm going to want to raise it up a little. Pull it back. We'll rename this one to Fill. Now what I want to do is I want to start adjusting them just quickly. I'm going to go with wattage because it just makes it easier. I want to find what that first one is in the scene to get it right. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at how bright do I want it, what am I getting. You can see here that I'm getting this spotlight is hitting along here in the primary spot that I want. Again, this is when I turn on the fill light is going to be where it is. I can see that, you know, this is a domed. That's why the highlight is sitting over here. And again, like a spotlight, that's exactly what it is. It's going to give you that circular light. Let's go back to the scene. So I already know that the properties for this one, give me a second here. There we go. The properties is 0.3. So we'll come back in and we'll turn on the other one. We'll turn this off. Oh, hold on. Let's go to environment. Here. Sorry, I forgot to do one thing. I'm just going to come over here and change my environment because I just want it to be a black environment. There we go. So I made a mistake. What was happening was I was using the HDRI background was still on there. I don't want that. I just want an all black or an all white. But right now I want all black because I want my lights to set it up. Okay, so let's come back. We'll go to scene. I thought I renamed that. There we go. Now we can start seeing where is it setting up, how's it looking. Maybe that's not bright enough. So let's get that. I think I might want to move it here a little bit more to get it lit up, but let's first get the basic default set up. So we've got that one. Let's go to the scene. We'll turn that one off. We'll turn that one on. You can see here, it's not hitting this. It's giving us a little bit of the fill to fill this area in. If we recall, the fill is usually to start with, is 1/3 or to a half of what the key light is. So I think we made it 3, so that's not bad. You can see where if we do 2, it might brighten things up too much and you start getting a washout. But let's just start with a 1. And we're going to say that is good for now. Let's take a quick look. Turn them both on. So yeah, I don't necessarily like that these highlights are so close together for those two. So I'm going to go in and I want to adjust that one. So we're going to go up to camera. We'll go to our top view. I was already on my top view. Why? I don't know why I have these two linked. I think it's because I copied them. Okay, so we're getting there a little bit better. And you can see because I don't have an environment placed in it, the only reflections I'm getting are the reflections that are in the scene. So the way that this is being told it's shiny is because it reflects the other objects in there. So what we'll do now is we'll go in and we'll do a fill, or sorry, a backlight. I'm just going to go to my standard view. And for this, I'm just going to drop in instead of creating a new one, because I think by copying them, what I ended up with was that these two are linked, which I didn't know I could do. So let's go back to edit, add lights, spotlight. Let's turn off the pause. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're going to move it. From that camera angle, I want to get just a little bit down there. You can see that it's really low, and I think that's because I messed up when I grabbed it. So I'm going for a very low setting so I can get that backlight. Now I need to come in because I messed up with these things. We need to get the reset. We need to come in. Drop the power down. Shoot, why is it grabbing that one? Bear with me here. Go to my materials. Why is it just want to select all of them? For some reason, it's not letting me edit them individually. Okay, so I think so that was the problem. For some reason, I had linked them all. I'm not quite sure how I did that, but what I did to get rid of it was I came in and I went to unlink all, which is, sorry, it's under materials. Shoot, I don't remember. Oh, there we go. So they're not linked now. So what I could do is I could link them again so that the same items are all linked. So if I make an adjustment to one, not a movement position, but if I make an adjustment to one, then they all adjust. So that was the reason I was struggling there. So let us come back. We want to really drop this down. Maybe even drop the color down. So some of it is just playing. We're going to also go with position here. We're going to move it upwards. Now, instead of grabbing these bar, oh, wait. There we go. So that was what I was trying to grab earlier, but it doesn't let you necessarily because I don't know why. So if we come back here, see in here it's not letting me grab it either. So this is where I say that it's still somewhat cumbersome. There we go. And these two lights are still linked. So we'll have to come in. Let's see if we can do that this time. Right click. I don't know where I had the unlink. I'll figure that out on break. So, but once you can pull this out, then that gives you the ability to control things a little bit different and know where they are. And that helps you to start adjusting things a little bit better. And what that literally does is it covers the focus of the area. Okay, let's come back here. So now you can see, obviously I'm not getting that backlight. I need to adjust it a little bit more because we're getting way too much specular off of there. But basically, I mean, that's how you start setting up the spotlights. It can be, or it is, cumbersome. I don't use spotlights all that much anymore, which is obvious by how much I'm struggling to work with them. And I'll also honestly say that Keyshot, how they've created or defined how to use their spotlights is not really the most intuitive. There are other things that are easy to do. So what I'm going to do is we can take a break here, and then when we come back, well, we'll take a break after any questions, but I'm going to show you how to use objects to help with lighting as well. Any questions? Nope. Okay, so let me stop the recording. I am now. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to create, utilizing objects to create them as light sources. So what I want to do here is I just want to get this to be gloss black so we can get kind of a dramatic feel and look to it. And for some reason, because that's actually a completely separate part. So we're just going to hide that. There. So right now, you can see what we've got going on is that plane is creating a reflection. So we're just going to get rid of it for now. And we're going to go back to our environment. We've got it set to white. Lighting environment. We're going to come back to our environment here. And if we do black, you can see we have a black bear in the black forest at midnight. So I'm going to just toss this on so I can actually see what's going on. So what I'm going to do is go to my top view that I don't seem to want to save. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to make an object. So to get that look, that shape, what it was is a cylinder. So we'll drag and drop that into here. There we have it. We want to rotate it the 90 degrees, so I can either kind of free form it here, or I can come over here and rotate it along the Z axis and get it 90 degrees. We're then going to want to, we'll just say we'll move it first. But what we want to then do is we're going to scale it. And scaling is the small little line. So here, the arrows control the direction that I'm moving it in. But then you can see, if I turn off scale, and I turn it on, you can see that I can drag it this way and that way. So right off the bat, you can kind of start seeing that it's reflecting in there. So I'm actually going to do it on the other side to make it just less complicated. So you can see that we're starting to get that reflection. As it moves up, we're getting that reflection as well. As it moves down, we're getting that reflection as well. So let's just go up a little bit. So you can see that we're getting that reflection. Let's scale it down and we'll do that. So basically what that means is it's a reflection. So if we turn this into a light, then we're going to get that light reflecting off of there. So we're going to come in and we're going to go to the cylinder. And what we want to do now is we can go into our material. So we're going to assign a material to this object that is a light, and it's going to reflect it. So easiest one that we're going to do is we're going to go to light. Oh, and I want to reinforce this because sometimes you look through here and you're not seeing what you want. Don't forget you can go to Window, Cloud Library. Let me see where that's going to pop up. Okay, it's going to pop up here. And we can type in and find, let's do light. Hit enter, hit enter. So then we can come in and go, okay, here's materials. What do we have for the environment? Oh, here's a bunch of ones that we didn't have or that we don't have. And then you can download them. So these are all HDRI. But then backplates. So whatever you need, window light, assigning. You can also come to models, and there are actual lights. You can actually download studio lights, and I've got that somewhere. I'll have to share it with you. But don't forget about this, because there may be something that you are looking for. Let's see if I can find anything. Oh, no hippo. Nope, no toenails. Oh, look at it. Eggshell. Nope. If you want, I can share a whole bunch of different foods that I've modeled up for when I did housewares. But anyways, so we're going to come in, and you've got a variety of lights. So we're going to keep it really simple, but I want to walk you through them. So there's area lights. You can have flakes in them. More area lights. And we'll kind of walk through that. Emissive lights that can be used to simulate LEDs. I don't know what IES stands for, I forget. But basically like wall lights, spotlights, different types of lights that can be assigned to objects that turn them into lights. Point lights, and then various spotlights. So what I want to do is I want to just show, we're going to do an area light, and it's already got all the lumens assigned. So let's just do this. So there now, you can see it's acting as a light. Versus just an object or just a reflection. So what we can do is, let's go to the environment. So now you can see that we're getting a very dramatic, different effect with the black. So let us also, so you can then come in and go to your materials. Here's our area light. And we have a variety of things that we can do. So we can change the color. And you can see how that's affecting the object. So it's black, obviously it's going to be black. We can make it red. We can do a variety of things to it. Let's just go with that because we're trying to get that look and feel. I don't know why it's not letting me edit the power. Let's go back there to area light. There we go. So you can see all software is a little bit glitchy because now you can see I can edit my power again. You saw what I did to fix it. I just jumped to something else and then I come back to that. It doesn't make sense. It's a bug, but there's ways of testing things to see if you can get rid of the bug. So let's drop this down to 10. And now we're starting to get, you know, a different look, a different effect. We can then come back, grab it. We're going to move it. And now you can see that we're getting a very different look and feel. If I want to adjust this material, so you can see how I've got a really, really harsh highlight on there. And the form doesn't lend itself to being a nicer highlight. It wasn't meant to be that. But I can come back in and I can go to my materials and I can adjust my refractive index. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I can roughen it up, which is going to soften it. So now my material and my light are doing two different things. Now I can drop that down even a little bit more, and I can start getting that bottom edge light. But obviously you can see I don't have anything on the top. So you can do things like this in conjunction with other lights to get a dramatic look. Now, hey, I see this great big blob in my studio. What can I do? Well, let's come back to, let me deselect that. Oh, that's why, because I'm selecting that material. So let me go to the light. So what I can do now is visible in reflections. I can say no. Turn that off. Maybe because I just want to light the floor. So if I do this, you know, and there's no reflection on the floor, let's see if this is going to work. Let's toss the plane back in here. And let me come back to my material. So now it's not, because that floor has no reflection. So maybe I don't want it highlighted in there. I just want to highlight the floor somehow. But let's leave reflections on. We'll turn our plane back off. Now, you can see how we can turn that on and off. What we can also do is hide it from the camera versus trying to figure out how not to have it in the shot. So that's one way of using an object. Now, you'll see that there's spotlights. Oh, sorry, let me go back. Question for that. Okay, so you'll see, as we've mentioned before, a whole bunch of different types of lights. There's diffuse lights, there's, you know, spotlights, there's a variety of different things. There's panel lights. So let's take a look, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to create a panel light. So let me come back to our environment. We're going to make that all white. You can see considerably less dramatic there when I have a white environment. But that's, if I want to go for this drama, I'd be going for the white or the black. I think, I can't remember, did someone toss up in here something that was floating or had a black background? No. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just turn that back on so I can actually see it. There. We're going to deselect. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a panel. Or, sorry, not a panel, but I'm going to grab a plane. So there we've got the plane. We're going to raise it up. We're going to rotate it. Then we're going to scale it. If I can actually grab it. Okay, so what I can then do is I can do the exact same thing. If I want, I can come back in. We'll go to Materials, and let's hit OK. And we're going to go back to assigning a area light, just to keep things simple. So we're going to come in. We'll drag and drop this on here. So now you can see we've lit up a whole lot of stuff here. Let us come back in, and we'll just go to black. So now you can see we're getting things a little bit more dramatic. What I can then do, obviously, if I want to come in, make sure I have the right one, select it. We'll go back to our material. This is also why you want to name things. There we go. So we're going to turn that power way down. We can change the color. Obviously, the color controls the intensity. Because maybe I want more than just that there. I want to get some of this reflection up in here. So maybe that doesn't show exactly what I want, so I want to drop that down a little bit. XYZ. We'll grab this. Where's my move tool? But now you can see that we're starting to get some much more dramatic stuff going on. You can get fancy if you want to toss that floor back in. So here now, depending on the camera angle, we are getting this part lighting up here. But then we're also getting that purple or the blue light hitting these surface buttons. So it's just giving a little bit of, how can I say it? Just a little bit of hint of highlight. Let's hit OK. Again, just like anything else, we can make it invisible to the camera. What's going on here? We can also come back, turn off the visible and reflections and kind of play with things. But obviously, the only thing that is giving us that is the reflections. We can also come back and we can go to our plane material. And then we can start messing with that as well. So here's the blue. Let's adjust the color. Obviously now what you're going to get is the front half is showing up that gray-white, where the back is getting that purple look and feel. Changing the material, you know, paint, it's going to have that really high, shiny, you know, liquid's going to be dumb, but where's plastic? Plastic is going to be very much reflective, but I can then play with that. So we can make it really reflective, but then I can come up here and soften those reflections. So now you can kind of see the reflections just a little bit. But here we're starting, and I don't know if I'm going to say that this is the best lighting, but you can kind of see how we can start getting very much more dramatic. Now what we could do is we can hide that plane if we want. And then let's go and make the background. So you saw on that plane, when we did that, you had the lights reflecting on that plane. What we can do is, here's our lighting. Well, let's say we go back and we want the environment background to be a color. So it's white. We'll go into environment. Nope, let's go back to settings. Now you can see that you're just getting the shadows, but you're not getting all that other ground reflections. Now, to me, this is what looks fake, because it looks like you took something and you dropped it into a background in Photoshop. And the reason I say that is because none of these lights play into the environment. So taking that time to build the environment, to set that up, really makes a difference. Even if it's a matter of coming in and dragging and dropping, that's really big. So let's scale it way down. Again, we're moving the position, so we want to take the scene object and we're going to snap it to the ground. We'd want to make the background white. But you can see here where we're starting to play with it. Now, I would want to do a few more things, but now when you're learning, sometimes it helps, instead of doing a whole lot of playing and guessing, again, to use that reference material, to dissect it, and then to try to recreate it. So just like we broke things out as in shapes, one thing that can be very useful is if we come back and we say, let me just find one here I can blow up. Okay. If I look at this, I see a highlight here. I see a highlight here, a highlight there, and a highlight here. So I'm going to assume, not assume, the light is going to be over in this direction. It's also going to be a panel. That's the only way, like if it was a spotlight hitting it, you wouldn't see this one long strip. So it's going to be a panel light that is reflecting into that object. The reason you don't see a little highlight in there is because the surface, it's not hitting that surface. Now, if I look at this, they've got a floor in there. This could be photoshopped in, yada, 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 but there's a reflection in it. You also, if I look at this, this is where I would literally create a light bulb and then make that light bulb, turn it into So let me grab this button. And turn it into a light. Let's see what it looks like when I do this. So here now, it's a light. And you can see that it's reflecting off of there. So I could make that from a light bulb. Or it could look like it's something glowing. If I come in and I go materials and we edit the emissive, we can turn down the intensity. Now this is, you see how you lose the form on that button? Well, what I would do is I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't use the actual button to make it look like it's glowing. What I would do, and you want to try to get as realistic as you can, is I would come in, let me come into the scene. It's going to be hard to do this because it's not shelled. Let me go to the scene. I'm going to select that. I'm going to, whoops, nope, stop. Control C. Control V. Just so I've got that extra button. What I'm then going to do is I'll take this and I'll scale it up. And I'm not getting the positioning exactly right or anything like that. We're just trying to get it quick here. So I would create my LED or my light on the inside. Then I would have a clear piece of plastic that covers it, you know, because you don't necessarily simply have, come on, let go. You don't necessarily just have an LED light shining. You have the LEDs encapsulated. So now if we come in and let's just do textured glass. Oh, that didn't work. Where's my plastic? There's my plastic. We're going to go to optical, clear. Now you can see how intense that is. You still can't read the form all that well. But what we can then do is come back in, go to our material, our emissive white. Oh, whoops. Am I adjusting the plastic? Now this would read better if this was shelled out. But that's what's going to give it to you. Let's also come back to our plastic piece here. And we'll come in. There we go. So now you can kind of start seeing how that material is there. And if we increase that, well, it's not going to read well because it's not shelled out. But basically that would start lighting that up. And maybe I'll set something up like that later to help show that. But you can see where assigning parts to get that LED light looking right can make a big difference and help make your scene look more realistic. What other lights we got here that we can just toss in quickly? So we can actually take that and turn it into a spotlight. So that's not going to work, but So now if I took that object and I moved it up, that button is acting like a spotlight. So I could have that positioned into that light. Oh, come on. That lamp, and have this be the spotlight position, and it's going to give us that look of here. So again, you know, creating the light bulb or getting these lights in there aren't necessarily just meant for lighting up the product, but you can use them to act as part of the scene, part of the story you're telling. Let's get out of there. We can also come in, so you can do textured lights. So you can see how we can adjust that. I can project down patterns. You know, some of the stuff is, again, you know, when you're first learning, just play. You know, point lights. And basically what I'm doing is I'm directing a point. You can change the colors, the intensity. This is the one that we already used. That kind of creates that shape, that sphere that's in there. So it's almost like it's being put into a environment. We kind of already showed emissive. Let's go with flakes. Let's see, firefly flakes. I don't really see what that's doing. Either way. Now, the one thing though is when I say the more realistic your model, the more it will help. So you saw when I created the light here that it's not very realistic. Well, that's because I'm asking the button itself to glow. The button doesn't glow, it's the light that's inside it. The button is a solid. Well, in order to have a light placed inside something so that the light glows and the light emits through the clear part, that part has to be clear. So all these things help when you're building your model to keep that in mind. Oh, I'm going to want to put a light inside here. What do I need to do? So a good example, Peyton, is in your camera, if you want to say have a rendering where it looks like there's a flash, then you need to make sure where that lens is, that lens has a material thickness. It's going to have to be the right material, but then you're going to want space behind it that you can create a light that is going to act as the flash. Does that make sense? Okay, so we only have like 6 minutes left. Questions, comments, thoughts? Nothing? There's a lot to play with yet. That is true. My goal is to give you guys enough knowledge to start playing. Ryan just left without saying goodbye. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I will let you all run away, and I will see you if you're floating around on Thursday, which is, oh shoot, it's tomorrow.
Have a good night.
You as well. Take care, everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Peyton or Haley, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was actually wondering if I could just assign 3 different materials to my controller, like have the base as a metal and the buttons like either rubber and like over molded part or whatever,
Yeah,
and just 2 different like molded.
yeah.
Okay.
Whatever materials you want to assign is fine. But if you're going to assign a metal, have the reference. It doesn't have to look like when I say reference image, it doesn't have to be a reference image of a real controller. It's a reference image of that material that you're going to create.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too. Bye.